This morning, both presidential candidates are preparing for the first of 3 debates with their campaigns. The debate, of course, happening on Wednesday, the first one. Each debate has a topic, and Wednesday's topic is the economy and domestic policy. Mitt Romney also looking ahead, though, to the final debate, which will focus on foreign policy. There's word this morning that he's going to give a major foreign policy speech soon after that first debate. Representative Adam Schiff is a Democrat from California. He's also a member of the Appropriations Committee and a senior member of the Intelligence Committee. It's nice to have you, sir. Thank you for being with us this morning. I want to start by,
it's great to be with you.
Appreciate that. I want to start by focusing you on Mitt Romney's op-ed, which focuses on Libya. And he writes this: the Arab Spring presented an opportunity to help move millions of people from oppression to freedom, but it also presented grave risks. We needed a strategy for success, but the president offered none. And now he seeks to downplay the significance of the calamities in the past few weeks. How devastating do you think is, considering all the focus that has been on Libya over the last week, how devastating do you think this is for the president?
Well, I don't think it's devastating for the president. I mean, it's certainly devastating to all of us to lose an ambassador, but that's a real injury to the country, and that's not a political issue. I think the president has established real credibility and strength on national security. Americans trust this president for good reason. He's made some very tough decisions. He has demonstrated that he will go to any ends to bring to justice those responsible for harming Americans, as we saw with the killing of bin Laden. So this is a very determined leader who is, I think, respected around the world. We have a tendency, I think, sometimes to think that we can control all events around the globe. We wish that were the case. It's not. The president has said all along in terms of the Arab Spring that there were going to be, serious challenges ahead in the near term and in the midterm. But I share the conviction that I think in the long term, this is a positive change, that we're seeing these countries take responsibility and want to have their own representative democracy.
I believe his political point in his op-ed, though, was less about we can't control what happened and more about in the week plus after Benghazi, it was still very unclear exactly what happened. And as far as I can tell, it's taken a long time for people to be forthcoming about whether it was a terror attack and exactly the kind of specific security that the ambassador had. I mean, you know who's got a great timeline from September 27th is the Washington Post. It's fantastic. And they really, September 11th it happens. By September 16th, Secretary Rice's spokeswoman is still, when she's asked, you don't regard it as an act of terrorism, she's saying, I don't think we know enough. I don't think we know enough. We know now that they did know enough, that within 24 hours that there were notifications that, in fact, this was terror. Why has it taken so long?
Well, it is frustrating because we want to get to the bottom of it right away, but in all of the intelligence briefings I've attended, intelligence officials were very careful to caution us that this was the best initial assessment, that they were still going to have to wait for a lot more information. And, in our rush to get information, we tend to discount those disclaimers, but the reality is we are still gathering information. It's a difficult region. The main concern I have, frankly, is that we still may not have good access of our FBI agents and other investigators to the site. But I don't think when you say, there's been a long delay in being forthcoming, I don't think there's been a delay in being forthcoming. I think the administration has shared information, the best that they had at the time, but we continue to try to learn just what parts of this were spontaneous and what parts of this was pre-planned. Was this a situation where Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda affiliated organizations and militias in Libya were looking for the right opportunity and took it when it presented itself, or were the demonstrations themselves part of the planning? So we're still trying to get the answers to those questions, but again, I think our ambassador, the intelligence community, and others have been very careful to caution, look, we want to give you the information as we get it, but you have to know this could change because our information is still coming in.
Yeah, what I don't understand about this story is there seems to be a suggestion in some of the discussion that there was somehow an ulterior motive on behalf of the administration to delay reporting on this. And I don't understand, what would they possibly have to gain? I mean, I think,
Read the New York
obvious something to
guys. They have tremendous amount to gain.
The accusation is there were threats of terrorism and they were insufficiently vigilant in responding to them. There'd certainly be a motivation in downplaying the role of terrorism.
Clearly a reluctance, and again, I'll point everybody to the Washington Post on September 27th. The timeline is excellent, and there's clearly a reluctance to use the T word in terror. In fact, a lot of whatever the opposite of reluctance, enthusiasm to talk a little bit about this videotape, this anti-Islam movie. I mean, and that really.
I think the real question. Yeah, I think the real question is, not so much do we describe this as an act of terror. From my point of view, you shoot mortars at an embassy, that's an act of terror in and of itself. The question is, how spontaneous was this? How much planning went into this? And as you point out, were there adequate security precautions taken? Did we have information that indicated we should have done more? Those are very legitimate questions, which, you know, not only the intelligence communities, but the panel set up with Ambassador Pickering will get to the bottom of. But, you know, I think the most important point is how much planning went into this. Whether we call it terrorism seems to me pretty self-apparent. The minute you're shooting mortars at an embassy, that's an act of terror.
Representative Adam Schiff is a Democrat from California. Nice to see you, sir. Thank you for your time this morning.
Great to see you, too. Thank you.
Reminder that you can watch complete coverage